Okay. Doot. What's going on, guys? Let's do this. All right. Today is just going to be me because Marlon is on the other side of the world having fun without me. So what I want to do today is really kind of unique. And I want to talk about hidden traps that are prominent in this industry and also any industry where people are trying to make money in, and you're going to run into these problems as an entrepreneur, especially as a business owner. And I'm going to talk about things that I've specifically run into, and things that I've run into in terms of dealing with service providers, companies that you work with that you need to make money with. And then also from a wholesale perspective and a sales and marketing perspective, but also on the flip side of that, of being a portfolio owner, so someone who owns rental properties, that there's going to be inherent traps that you're going to run into in there as well. And so also, I want to spend today talking and answering questions that people have, because I feel like we haven't done that in a minute. I haven't done a Q&A in a while. So I would love to do that too. So if you guys want to ask questions in the chat. If you want to come on live and be on camera and hang out with me and have a one-on-one discussion for a little bit, I'm down to do that too, because the last time I did that, I brought a guy on and we spent like 30 minutes breaking down his business and his unique constraints. And it was cool because a lot of people messaged me after and they were like, we love what you normally do, but you sitting there with a business owner and just like helping them work through the constraints they have in their business right now, that is super, super valuable. So if you have questions in the meantime, drop them in the chat. If you want to come on and hang out with me here in the studio, let me know in the chat. I'll get you the link too. But yeah, let's dive into it. And just so you guys know, it's fun because one of our best friends on earth is getting married literally tomorrow in Vietnamese time. So super stoked for that. It's going to be an amazing event, and I hope everyone can get, can send some positive energy that way. And I'll talk about that on Instagram in a bit. But I want to get a feel in the chat. Who here is marketing to sellers, or are you considering marketing to sellers, to either wholesale deals or buy and hold or fix and flip, or heck, even look for like lending opportunities, because people do market to sellers for lending as well. A lot of people don't talk about that. And so like, let me know, put like a yes in the chat if you are. God, I need a haircut. Oh, sweet. Okay. So Steve is awesome. Eric, nice. Okay. So definitely got some of the right people. I think Brian Garcia is in the chat too. Now Brian's doing a lot of marketing. Okay. So here's the thing, guys. And I want to talk about, yeah, let me do this because we've got some new people here. Before I get into that, I want to answer this. So Jason, good to see you, dude. I think I met Jason in Central California meetup, I think. Yeah, I feel like we just met recently, like a month and a half ago. For those of you that don't know me that well, can you give us a glimpse of what it is that you do? 100%. So this November will be my 4-year anniversary as a real estate entrepreneur, and I do more than just real estate. Real estate's just been the thing that I've focused on. And so I've been in the game for coming up on 4 years now. The majority of that time was spent wholesaling houses. And because I started off broke as a joke, graduating grad school, and I didn't have money and I needed money. And the benefit that I have is that I have a really good skill set at talking to people. And I'm really good at getting people to like me and getting them to basically do what I want and, or serve whatever purpose that I want to chase. And that's right. Pace introduced us. Awesome. And so wholesaling was my natural knack. And we have since done hundreds of deals in the last 3.5 years. The beauty of my journey along the way is I think I was able to escape a lot of the traps that a lot of people would typically go through. And it is because I am very, very, very analytical and discerning and almost a little bit ruthless with the steps that I want to take in my business. I don't stay in certain seasons too long. And my entire focus is always about growing the business and scaling it and thinking, how can I, from an executive standpoint, make this business better, right? If I want to do, when I was just getting started, the goal was to do just a deal a month, right? Or make, 5-10 grand a month. And over a certain amount of time, that when we got to the 5-10 grand a month, I was like, you know what? this is a linear scale. And I understand that if I just put more into the system and I do it the right way without too many things breaking, I can expect a very linear output. And then so you take that and you just keep rolling it, and you keep rolling it, and it compounds and you get better. And I would say the two things that have really helped me get to the point where I've done, because Marlon always tells me that I need to like disclosure this, or like just be a little more upfront about this. Sometimes I'm an outlier. Most people who are 3.5 years in the industry, who've never done a deal before that, never raised capital, never owned property, never did anything in this industry before that, most people do not 3.5 years in have done hundreds of deals like I have. I'm an outlier, and a lot of that was luck. A lot of that was the right mentors. I have spent almost closing in on 200,000. I've spent about 184, I think right now is like the current number, on mentorships and masterminds and coaching and all of the self-development stuff as an entrepreneur that I've had to go through. And it's funny because that number is will probably be, it took me 3.5 years to get to about 184 grand in spend in self-development. And I think over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll probably bump it up to close to $1 million, because the things that we're investing now, not as many things, but each thing is like a 6-figure price tag because they're just at a higher scale. And I think the big thing that's contributed to a lot of my success is focusing not on how do I do the work, but how do I get other people, other systems, other processes to do the work for me. So I do focus on leverage a lot. And when I say leverage, I don't mean debt. I mean leverage as in a system where if I put one in, I get 10 out. And then as we stabilize that leverage and we get good at it, then my point becomes, how do I put one in and get 15 out? Then I put one in and get 20 out. And it's just through that repeat process of that sometimes seemingly boring work and boring approach, you can scale a business drastically. And so wholesale was always the main thing. I then about 1.5 years into my journey started buying a bunch of rentals. So we own rental properties. We do a lot of midterm rental with that. A lot of the real estate side focus now is actually geared at getting commercial assets like self-storage facilities. Reason why? More cash flow, easier to manage, truly easier to manage than single family, in my opinion, and better depreciation. So a lot of that cool stuff. And the last thing that I want to get back on track is for anyone that's been with me for a while, they know this, like Bryant knows this. Bryant's been around me for a long time now. And my entire focus isn't on getting more assets. Like I don't really care too much about real estate. Real estate is just, to me, real estate's, walls, a roof, and a mortgage. For me, the focus is how do I improve this skill set and take this skill set into higher leverage vehicles. And I'll be very real with you guys. If you guys think, Larry the Lion, what's going on, dude? Good to see you. If you guys think that, there's a lot of people out there, especially online, who will tell you that real estate is the path to freedom. And it can be, don't get me wrong. And if your goal is just to make a few $1,000s per month semi-passively and like not have to answer to the man, great. Real estate's a phenomenal vehicle. I understand that real estate gave me a skill set, and that skill set predominantly has been based around sales, marketing, and building sales teams. And so my focus is, how do I get really good at marketing? How do I get really good at building sales teams and take that extremely high leverage skill stack? So in my opinion, next to coding, it's like one of the highest leverage skills there is. How do I take that and start other businesses? How do I start better businesses that make me more money? And how do we eventually get into the game of private equity, which is basically we either buy other people's businesses or we buy into their businesses, or people come and they do what's called consulting for equity. So they basically know that, hey, Sam is really good at getting more leads to the door, helping making sure that we close them, making sure we optimize the business, making sure we can, boost profit, yada, yada, yada. He's good at effectively scaling through sales and marketing. And that's our weak point. So what we'll do is we'll reach out to Sam, say, hey, Sam, if you can come in and if you can come in and basically coach us, right, and consult with us, we'll give you a piece of the pie. We'll give you part ownership. And so I've done a lot of these things, but it's all been focused around sales and marketing. And so, for Marlon, who's not here right now, he's going to have a lot of his kind of emphasis is going to be on mindset of the entrepreneur. And that's his unique thing. He's in the chat. Like, go enjoy Vietnam, dude. And it's so funny. I just picture Marlon in Vietnam being the tallest human being there. It's like you can probably spot him 3 blocks away. And that's so funny though. I hope you're having a good time, dude. And a lot of the focus, so for Marlon, is going to be along the lines of, uh, God, he's funny. A lot of the focus from Marlon is going to be around like the mindset of the entrepreneur, right? How does the entrepreneur self-develop, unlock new levels of self-belief, of how do they break limiting beliefs, and how does that help them escalate, not just in their personal lives, but in their business lives. For me, a lot of the focus is really kind of built on executive scaling. It's really inputs and outputs. It really is, how do we build a machine that works so we don't have to? And then on top of that, how do we just grow big revenue? How do we grow big profit? How do we, and the big thing that I've been obsessed with the last year is what we call enterprise value, which is basically how companies are valued, what it takes to not just grow a company, but also like make it worth something so it is a sellable asset to another party. And that's how, when you hear about like, oh, Zillow didn't sell, but let's just pretend, oh, Zillow sold for $1 trillion, right? It's like, what went into that? Where did they get that number from? What does the back end have to look like for Zillow to be able to hit that number? And so a lot of my focus is on executive scale. I do have an MBA, so I have a master's degree in executive scaling of businesses. So all I do is study like the great founders and the great operators. So the Steve Jobs, the Warren Buffetts, all the Alex Hermosis of the world. And so naturally, that's what I'm inclined at. So if you come to me, it's like, yeah, we can talk about real estate. We can talk about wholesale all day. I crush wholesale, freaking crush it. I don't think there's many people who are more optimized than me or my company in wholesaling, but my focus is wholesale is a starting point. Owning rental properties is fantastic. It is great. I think everyone should own some rentals. I think it's a safety net. But I think that if you get really good at the game of real estate, you will unlock skills that allow you to go play even bigger games. And so that's a lot of where my focus comes in. So that's a 10,000 foot rundown of where I'm at right now. Okay, back to what I was saying. If you guys have more questions, just drop them in the chat. Let me know. Let me do this. I'm gonna. Normally, this always becomes a little bit tricky for me to do. Okay, I just put the join link in the chat. So if anyone wants to like hang out and like come and talk and have me break down their business and answer their specific constraints, like come on. The last time we did that was so fun. I think the guy that we did it for, I think we were able to really kind of save him a lot of time and money from doing the wrong things and get them focused on doing the right things. And the cool thing is I think their business has grown since. So back to what I was saying. If you were going to get into marketing, right? And a lot of people think, oh, I'm only going to do direct to seller marketing if I want to wholesale. Just completely wrong, guys. Completely wrong. And I actually grown to really dislike that stance. It's like you should only do direct to seller marketing, or you should only be doing mailers or calling or texting or PPC or running ads or whatever if you're trying to wholesale the deal. The reality is like wholesale is irrelevant. Like wholesale is what you do with a contract once you have it. I care about your ability as a business owner to control your own deal flow. And so I know any flipper you talk to, any flipper who is not doing their own deal generation, they are not marketing to sellers, they're not getting their own contracts. If they're relying on agents and wholesalers to scale their businesses, at some point they will all tell you they are going to turn on direct to seller marketing. Guaranteed. And the reason why is because their businesses, the predictability of their businesses is dependent on people they don't control, right? The wholesalers, the agents, the people who do control the deal flow. And so long as you want to predictably grow your flipping business or predictably grow your portfolio, for all of you, I love my lazy buy and holders. Like I buy and hold properties, right? And I'm going to tell you this right now, as someone who buys and holds rentals, and as someone who's going to continue to buy more rentals and get into bigger assets, I will tell you this right now. Then one of the foundational reasons my portfolio is as strong as it is, I've never had a default, I've never had a deal go horribly south, and I own like a decent amount. The reason why is all of our deals were freaking amazing. And the reality is this: how do you make a deal freaking amazing? You need a spread. Whether it's a spread on equity, whether it's a spread in the wedge that you have in debt, whether it's a spread in like the amount of exit strategies you have available to you. There's all of these things that insulate you from a volatile market, from an economy that's constantly shifting, for crap that can happen when owning rental properties. And I look at the sea of people who've had deals go south. One common factor is they always buy it from a wholesaler. Okay. I'm not saying the wholesaler is always the problem, but I'm saying they always buy it from a wholesaler, and that wholesaler is going to eat up any potential equity there could have been, right? That's how wholesalers make their money. They make their money on the spread. Whether it's a cash wholesale or even a creative finance wholesale, and you're selling a no equity, but you got to pay me a $10,000 assignment fee. Guess what? You still raise that $10,000 for this property. You are now over leveraged if there's no equity in it. So wholesalers will take up that margin. And so what ends up happening is when you control your own deal flow, you get to buy way deeper. And when you buy way deeper, the deals are better for you. They're more sustainable. You're taking less risks. You also have better relationships with your lenders because your lenders are in a much more secure position. And so they feel like you're actually looking after their best interests instead of just your own. So there's so much stuff that goes into this. And I think that when it comes down to predictably scaling, if you've got like a financial freedom number, or if you're like, hey, Sam, I want to own $100 million of real estate, cool, awesome. How are you going to do it? Well, I need to buy, 20 deals a year from blah, 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 blah. But if you don't control the deal flow, it's like there's no predictability in your business. There's no predictable growth. You can't hire accordingly. You can't scale accordingly. You lose all of this control. And the same thing happens to flippers all the time. So if you are direct to seller, all of this is to say one thing: direct to seller marketing is not just for wholesalers. It is for flippers. It is for buy-in holders. And because wholesaling in general is being cracked down on, it is being regulated more and more and more. Note how it's not direct to seller marketing is being regulated. When you look at all these headlines about like wholesale is getting restricted, wholesale legislation, all of that stuff, very often it's not the direct to seller marketing that's actually the thing that's under a lot of scrutiny, and it is to a degree, but most of it is actually geared at what? Selling interest in a property that you don't own. And the reason why it's that specifically is because by and large, there's a million different reasons that go into it, but some of the biggest political lobbyists, and especially local politics, are actually going to be agents and agent associations, because wholesalers basically get to take the place of agents because they do what they can't do, and then is move deals off market at a discount. And because there's viable competition, the difference between wholesalers and agents is that agents have like giant associations and they're like semi-unionized and they have representation in a very strong kind of capacity, whereas wholesalers are just a bunch of fragmented people across the country, and there's no cohesion. And so all of this to say, wholesaling might get cracked down on, but direct to seller marketing and doing it the right way and finding the deals so you can buy it, that's not going to go away. At least I don't think anytime soon. And I want to put this into perspective for you guys. When you decide, when your single family portfolio is maxed out, right? And you're like, you will hit a point. I promise you will hit a point with your single family doors where it's like the juice isn't worth the squeeze anymore. I don't want to manage 42, single family houses. And at best, they're maybe making $1,000 a month each on a midterm rental, right? And it's like you take all of these ancillary risks to make this deal worth working, and then someone trashes the place, or you have 3, 4, 5 months of vacancy, and that kills the spread that you potentially could have had. All of these things make single family great. Like single family is great in the beginning, but all of those things at a certain scale will compound. And I've never met someone who's passed like 50-ish doors who doesn't start saying, hey, I'm going to make the main focus larger asset classes. And very often, I mean, there are people who still, focus on single families. That's their bread and butter. But I would say the majority of people that I've met in high level masterminds, people who are, much bigger than I am right now, they all kind of come to the same conclusion of the economy of scale of a larger asset is better for growth and predictability. Now, here's the thing. When you get into self-storage, or you get into large acreage land, or you get into warehouses, or you get into triple net leases, or you get into multifamily apartments, this, that, and the other, I'll be very real with you guys. On market deals freaking suck. Terrible. Freaking terrible. This past like 12 months alone, we've not even 12 months, like 6 months alone, where we've made a concerted effort to start paying more attention to self-storage to get those deals in the pipeline. We've probably underwritten well over 100 deals, like for sure over 100 deals. And every single one that was on market or brought through a agent sucked. Freaking terrible deals. Horrendous deals. They don't make any sense anyway. Like, you would have to hold on to it for 15 years for it to start finally freaking working. Like, that's how bad they are. And then you look at wholesalers. Guys, wholesalers in the self-storage space, are there some? Yeah. Are they reliable? Hell no. Because the pool of wholesalers there are astronomically smaller, and they're very often not going to sell the deals to you. They're going to sell the deals to giant REITs, like these giant funds that are buying these things, who have billions of dollars to deploy. And you've got, like, 1.2 million if you creatively finance the thing, and you can only put, like 100 grand down. So if you want like good deals in larger asset classes where, like, I want a 1.5 million purchase on seller finance, 10% down at 4% interest over the next 20 years with a balloon at year 10 and a 5-year automatic extension if it doesn't appraise the right value, you want that because that's what makes sense and is like a good investment. You're not getting it from wholesalers. You're not getting it from wholesalers. You're not getting it from brokers. You're not getting it on market. It's not going to happen. And if you want that level of insulation, because the deal like that is so good. By the way, if you have a deal like that, like, wholesale it to me all day, I'll buy it. The reality of that is you're only going to get those opportunities by marketing direct to seller. And so we've probably underwritten at least 100 on market deals in the last 12 months, 6 to 12 months probably. None of them worked. None of them worked. This is like an internal monologue we've had, or dialogue we've had in our team. And I'm like, I think I told my team a month or two, I'm like, I don't care. If it's on market, if there's an agent involved, unless it's a pocket listing that is so just blatantly upfront good, like, don't even waste 30 minutes trying to underwrite the damn thing. It's not worth it. And ironically, we've underwritten probably less than like 30 really good direct to seller leads, I should say, for self-storage. And it's like half of them would work or close to work at like the seller's asking. We just need a little bit more time compounding. And so if you want to get into bigger assets and you want to own the portfolio and you want to grow your net worth, you have to do marketing. I don't give a damn what anybody says. And it's like, that is just raw truth. If you get to these big masterminds, like, there's an amazing higher level mastermind, and it costs, like, I think it's like 30 or 35 grand a year. And I went there recently, and like the amount of people in it. Oh, what's up, Jade? The amount of people in it who are crushing is just awesome. And there are people in that mastermind who own thousands and thousands of doors. And there's people in that mastermind who, there's a few of them who I believe are at over $100 million in real estate owned. And the interesting thing is, I know one of them specifically, I know his story, his headline is that he bought over $100 million of real estate in 5 years. And it's like, when you look at that, you're like, that's an insane number. The only person that I've seen do it in like that amount of time that I personally know, I think Pace Morby went to like 100 million, like $120 million in real estate in like 3 years. And it's like, he had this massive community to be able to pull that off. This guy didn't do that. He didn't have a massive community. He didn't have thousands of people bringing him deals that he could do deals with. You know what he did? Just did direct to seller marketing at an extremely high level. And so, that being said, and all I'm trying to do here, guys, is break this kind of disbelief or this fallacy that direct to seller marketing is just for wholesalers. No. If you're a flipper, it's how you scale your business. If you're a buy and holder, it's how you scale your net worth and your assets under management and the doors owned. Like, it truly is. You'll actually make more active income too. You'll actually save a lot more in taxes too. There's a million different reasons to do direct to seller marketing. Now, when you get into the industry of doing direct to seller marketing, because it's a whole new ball game, you're going to need leads, right? And you might need data, you might need callers, you might need CRMs, you might need dialer systems, you might need overseas virtual assistants who are, working the stuff for you. You might go and what's going to happen is you are going to get pitched everything you're going to get pitched. You're going to get pitched cold callers and CRMs and ad agencies and direct mail companies. And all of these people are going to want to take your money, because guess what? As a newbie or a newer investor in direct to seller marketing and real estate, you are the most monetizable person in the industry. Like, your avatar is I am here and I need to spend money to make money. So all of these people are going to be attracted to you trying to take that money that you need to spend. And so here's one caution that I want to, and this was kind of focused on my Facebook post today and my Instagram post today. It's something that was really interesting. And I've run across so many people who have signed on for programs. And because they're busy, because they have money, because they've got a job, because they've got a family, they will go and sign on with these service providers who, whether it's like a cold call company, right? And I'll use a few examples. Call centers are an example. Direct mail providers are an example. PPL companies, so pay per lead, where they run, digital ads for you, generate the lead, and they sell you the lead one at a time. All of these companies are great examples of this. And I'm not saying, and I'm going to say it right now, so no one get mad at me. Not all companies who run these models, who run PPC, PPL, direct mail, call centers, they're not all bad. Like, they're not. There's some phenomenal providers out there that we've used. Some of them I still use in my business to this day. But the sad truth is, those that are the good ones, they are the absolute minority by far. And if you have all of these like PPL companies right now, like Brian's been in the game long enough now, especially over the last couple of years, to see that probably the majority of PPL providers are like terrible. And it may not be that they're running outright scams, but everything they're doing does not set their clients up to succeed. And it's like 1 degree away from being called a scam, like truly. And so here's the thing. For newer people who don't have the time, but they have the money, and as soon as a service provider is going through a sales call with you and they understand, oh, damn, Bryant is a doctor. Bryant has 200,000. Bryant just sold a business. Cool. See how he has money, right? And someone who's doing all of these things might also be a little bit busy. They also may not want to manage the day in, day out. They become perfect prospects for the done for you service, the hands-off service, the we'll do everything. You just pay a fee, we'll do everything for you, and you just get to reap the benefits of it. That people fall for that shit every day. I know this because not too long ago, this kid I met, young kid in my local area, he fell for a call center's offer. And they're like, we manage everything. We will pull the list for you. Our callers will call the list for you. We will manage the dialer. We will do the skip tracing. We will do data management. We will even have after the lead has been called and qualified, we'll even lead manage the deal and send the lead to you once it's all done. Okay. By the way, guys, anyone running that model where they've actually gotten the lead all the way through lead management and it's like super qualified and they'll give it to you, I've never seen that work. Like, I would love for that to be a real thing. I could be proven wrong. I hope someone proves me wrong. I just haven't seen it because none of those things line up. And like, why would a company do that instead of not just close the lead themselves if they've got this immaculate system and just wholesale the deal themselves? Spoiler, they are. Half the time they are. And so what ends up happening is this kid's like, yeah, they're going to do everything for me. And I'm like, cool. How much is it going to cost? It was spending a couple $1,000s per month. And then they had this path to scale for him that was going to lead all the way up to like $5,000 per month. This person has never done a deal before, ever. Probably only talked to like a handful of homeowners in their life. And they were signed on for this package, this contract. And what's interesting is this person went and talked to a really good friend of mine who's probably created the most revolutionary software in this industry. This guy's worth a couple $100 million. And this kid went to him at this event and said, hey, like, this is what I'm doing. What do you think? Like, guys, spoiler, whenever you're talking to someone worth hundreds of millions who's like created revolutionary stuff in the industry, read between the lines when they basically warn you about doing something. He basically said, hey, I wouldn't recommend doing that. Everyone I've seen done that. Like, I've never seen it work, but like, it's your money, do what you want, like, try it, test it. Guys, that was like a dude, don't do it. I hope you're reading between the lines. I hope you're understanding that I am saying not to do this. And the kid was like, oh, cool, thank you. And then just went and did it, like did not even pay attention. And I grilled the kid and I'm like, dude, guy's worth like $250 million. It's done I don't even know how many thousands and thousands and thousands of transactions. The knowledge base that this person has is through the roof. It's more than any one of us. And so And I'm like, you went out of your way to ignore that because you fell for a sales pitch because it sounded easy. And the problem is this entire offer model is predicated upon you hitting the easy button. And I love the idea of that. The problem is this. And I told this kid, cool. And I started asking, I went down this rabbit hole with them. I'm like, okay, cool. They're going to do all the work for you. Awesome. Do you know who the caller is? No. Red flag. Why? Because how are you going to, you as the business owner who is spending the money, it's not that you want to manage, it's not that you need to manage, but if stuff goes wrong, you should have the understanding and you should have full transparency in what's actually happening in the business, in the service that is contributing to numbers being really good or the numbers being really bad, right? And so I'm like, do you know who the person is who's actually calling? They tell you that you have an assigned person who's going to, handle all your cold calling. Do you know? No. Are you allowed to know? No. Cool. Red flag number one. Awesome. Who's pulling the lists? Just so you guys know, in any cold call campaign, the data is the DNA of the business. And so if you pull the wrong data, like you're screwed, like you're just going to hemorrhage more money in the long run. And then if you're a call center, if you're working with a call center and they're charging you per hour worked, don't you think a call center is going to inherently tell you to go pull bigger volume lists so that they can have more talk time and longer hours work to charge you more money? So do you think they're going to give you the best data, the best quality, the best everything? Or do you think they're just going to drag on the amount of hours so they can bill you as much as humanly possible? And I said, do you know which data they're pulling? No. Okay, cool. Do you know where they're getting the data from? No. Okay, are you allowed to provide your own data? Nope, not at all. Hands-off process. It's actually like they actually grilled him that it's like a hands-off, we don't want you, like we want you to stay in your lane. We'll manage this because we're the professionals and we know what we're doing, this, that, and the other. I'm like, okay, do you understand like who's like what skip tracing service they're using? Are they doing it in-house? Do you have any of these answers? No. I'm just like, dude, what do you think is going to happen? Like truly, you have zero transparency across the entire freaking business. And you're the one footing the bill. And in 3 months, you're going to be spending $5,000 a month. And you've signed on for like a 6-month freaking contract. And you've never done a transaction in your life. You don't know what you don't know. And the problem is this, when the results don't come in, and if the results do come in, fantastic, I hope they do. But the problem is at some point, the results will start to decline. And when the results start to decline, you as a business owner have to have clarity in the KPIs to understand and spot the problem a mile away. But you can't do that. And you can't determine what the problem is if you don't have transparency. And as soon as I started saying all this stuff to him, you could see the gears turning. You could see the gears turning. And you're like, and he kind of had like a revelatory moment where he was like, oh my God, you're right. Like if something goes wrong, I've just been assuming everything's going to be perfect. And I'm like, you have no idea. You're flying blind. You're completely flying blind. And then the reality is like, they're not going to reimburse you. It's still your money. It's still your hard costs that are going out the door. And it was really interesting. And so another version of this, PPL companies, guys, a year and a half to 2 years ago was a massive advocate for PPL companies because they were just really kind of hitting their stride in the industry and they weren't saturated yet. And so I was like doing webinars and I spoke on stage and I would like talk about them and like, yeah, this is what's working for us at a high level. And the interesting thing with PPL companies, guys, is you run into the same lack of transparency issues. And so right now there's a massive thing, and like shout out Brent Daniels, who's been running, I love him. He's a savage for this. He's been running ads. I've been getting the ads where he's like exposing some PPL companies, not the specific companies, but like the practices. And so where, the whole idea is like, you think you're paying $400 for a lead in Las Vegas or Phoenix or wherever. It's actually gonna be way more in Las Vegas or Phoenix. It's probably gonna be like $700-800 per lead in those types of markets. But you're paying $400 for a lead, which is that's a high cost. Like that is very high cost. And you're paying that thinking that it's a Google ad lead or it's a Facebook ad lead. So there's a higher degree of intentionality behind, the lead's quality. And you didn't realize that the PPL company is actually just texting people. It's text blasting people and asking them, hey, my name is Sam. I'm a cash buyer. I saw your property at 123 Main Street. Are you interested in selling? And if me as a homeowner, Sam, I say, yeah, cool. I say, yeah, I'm interested. What are they going to do? Very often, they'll send you a link saying, yeah, fill out this web form and we'll get you a cash offer real quick. Guys, I've literally had like because I own properties. So I own properties in Las Vegas, one of the biggest, most targeted markets in the country for real estate, just in general. Everyone wants to be there. I get cold calls and cold texts all the time. And I've had cold texts come in where I've had PPL companies text me, say their properties, and they didn't even hide. Like they didn't try to like say that they were like local cash buyers. They're like, hey, this is so and so from enter real estate PPL company name, like one of the biggest ones in the industry right now. And they didn't even hide it. They're like, yeah, are you interested in selling? And they sent me a link, and I clicked on the link, and it took me to their portal, and it had their branding and everything. Like, they didn't even bother to change it. And then here's what's crazy. I reached out to a couple of my friends. I'm like, have you guys gotten this? You guys are in equally saturated or sought after markets. Like, have you guys gotten this stuff from this company? And they're like, dude, we get that stuff like every single day. I'm like, really? And then it was interesting. We went down the rabbit hole. We played with it. We started submitting leads through those platforms, right? Through those web forms that they were texting us for. And what we do is we'd fill it out, boom, on their platform the next day or two. And because when you're on these platforms, you can have alerts set up for certain markets where, your market will be alerted, or your profile will be alerted if a new lead comes up in your target area that meets your specifications. And so we would rig the deck, sending our own leads in through texting, through a text lead. And then we would, like, within 2 days, get pitched our own properties. Insane. And then the price tag was like $400 for one. And I'm like, wow, they're really selling texting leads for $400 a pop under the guise of them being digital inbound. So they have like higher intent, higher motivation. And so not all PPL companies are doing this. Do not get me wrong. There are some really good ones in the industry right now that have great results. They have great testimonies. They have great clientele, the whole nine. The sad truth is that's the minority of them. And then when you go and look one step further, it's like, are they actually, like, here's the big thing. And it's like, I want you guys to understand, why does all this matter? Because I want you guys to have leads, and I'm okay with the done for you model. I'm okay with the hands-off model, but I need you guys to have ultimate transparency because it's your business. And at the end of the day, your business is on the line because you're the one footing the bill. And so when stuff goes wrong, if you don't have transparency, how the hell are you going to problem solve? How the hell are you going to get to the bottom of what's going on? And very often with these lack of transparency companies, when you do bring up these issues, the answer from them, their support teams, there's almost always the same thing. It's usually, you're not spending enough, or you're in the wrong area. Let's move you somewhere where it's like a little bit bigger, a little bit more, a little bit more stuff is happening. And basically always just gets you to this idea of, if you spend more money, it'll magically start working. And that's very rarely the case. And I'm planting my flag on this hill where I think people talk about scaling a lot. And I think, and I do too. Like, I love scaling. It's like the best word ever. I think scaling isn't achieved by spending more money. I think scaling is a side effect that is unlocked by optimizing the business. And so we talk about spending more money to scale the revenue. That's fine. But if you get into business valuation, it's all based on profit. And so how do you boost profit? By optimizing and finding leaky buckets and finding inefficiencies. And you can't get this granular and boost your profit, which is all that matters, if you don't have that transparency. And so, like, direct mail companies are a great example of this. Direct mail companies where you basically pay them, you don't know if your mail is going out on time, right? They tell you they are, and I promise you they're not. We've caught mail companies, like, we don't use direct mail companies anymore for this reason, where we've basically caught them saying they sent out a batch of mail and they haven't for another day or 2 or 3 even. And how do we catch them? We rig the deck. We own properties. We just add our own properties to the list so we can verify that our mail pieces are being hit and being sent out, because we'll receive our own mail pieces. And there's stuff like that. There's stuff like, are they sharing templates that you work your butt off to split test, right? A lot of these companies, they're going to have templates that you can use. Awesome. Great. Not all companies will do this, but some will. This is a true thing. We've caught companies doing this, and it was a big issue for us. Is our whole thing is, how do we make sure we don't look like the competition? How do we make sure that everything we do is unique and it has its own little spin on it? And so we rigorously split test every single thing that we're doing. And we've literally had mail companies use our mail pieces, okay? Our mail pieces that we've in-house created. They're very unique. very unique. We intentionally put little Easter eggs into things so we know it's like ours. And then we obviously put our own rental properties into the list so we know what's gonna, we can check that the mail is going out properly. And then I kid you not, there was this one company where we literally within like a month or two, we started getting that mail piece from like 3 other companies. And what's funny is I dug into it a little bit just by calling around us, and I'm like, "Hey, do you guys know so and so company? Do you know so and so? Home buyers, like who the person is behind the scenes?" And then we were able to find out they're just like the big dogs. And so what ends up happening is very often a lot of these done for you services where you're completely hands off, they're potentially lead sharing. They're potentially like mucking up the waters by doing all of this other stuff that puts you last and it puts their higher paying clients first, and they're just looking after their own business interests, I guess. Like that's fine. But I always think that there's always someone who has to lose there. And it's usually the person just getting started. It's usually the person just trying to get traction. It's usually the person who's just trying to improve like their family's lives. And so I wanted to have this conversation because I think it's super important. I think people keep missing the fact that like discernment is a necessary skill set for you as an entrepreneur, because you're gonna have all of these companies who are going to promise you the world, and very few companies ever like set proper expectations for what results would look like. And the dangerous part with all of these done for you services and the hands-off services, not against them. I like them. I actually think they're great. I just want one that gives me ultimate transparency. It's that old adage of trust but verify. I want to have the ability to verify. And if I don't have the ability to verify, there's something wrong. And so if you're talking to these companies, if you're talking to service providers, I want you to understand how to navigate that conversation and not fall for a sales pitch, because at the end of the day, it's your job to provide for your family, build your future with your money. And so when the system works, they're going to take all of the credit for it. Like, we're the best in the world. But guess what? When the system doesn't work because it was shady crap happening behind the scenes, they're not going to be the ones to blame. It's because you didn't trust the process. It's because you didn't, stay on for 9 months with us. It's because the package you came on was too small. Let's jump you up to the bigger one and spend way more than you can afford. Instead of saying, okay, let's maybe look at our KPIs. Let's maybe look at what's going on behind the scenes. Let's actually have an upfront, honest discussion about what messed up, because things will mess up. Even the best teams mess up all the time. It's why they're good. It's just that when things do go wrong, they have the transparency to be able to troubleshoot what's going wrong, how to fix it, how to make it right. And so another thing that I want to quickly hit on is property. Oh my God. Okay. I'm not going to, because I told them today I wasn't going to name them or name drop them, but I want to use this as a lesson, guys. For anyone who owns properties, I'm telling you right now, if you're just getting into the game of owning properties and you're wanting to grow your portfolio, property management is going to be one of the biggest nuisances possible. Like, it is, property management is so freaking annoying. It is terrible. And so it's like, you're gonna do all the work to get the deal, finance the deal, fund the deal, get it fixed up, get it rehabbed, get it all denied. And then you basically want to be able to step back and let dude, property manager, come in here, find the person, vet the person, make sure they pay us money, and we're good to go. And here's the thing. It sounds so freaking easy because gurus make it sound easy. And for anyone in the chat who owns properties, and you own a couple or, several, this, I've never met someone who owns more than 5 properties who isn't having a nightmare or been through a nightmare scenario with 20 different property managers. I've cycled through so many freaking property managers and people who list rentals on platforms to find you the booking. It's not even hard work. It's not hard work, guys. Property managers will take 10, 15, heck, I've even seen some, in the short-term rental space, they'll take 20% of your revenue. All they do is list the deal list the property for rent on Zillow, on potentially the MLS, on Airbnb, on VRBO, on Furnish Finder. And they'll, I'm so I love midterm rental as a strategy. I hate the midterm rental kind of niche because the real estate operators who are midterm rental specialists I'm sorry, guys. I've been through so many of them, and I've been through some of the biggest ones on social media who like they're on social media all the time, branding themselves about being the MTR specialists that they can find traveling nurses and medical workers and corporate and insurance rentals and fire displacement. And like that's like their whole thing. And usually they have a freaking mentorship to join. And but when you actually hand off your property to them, it's like I've handed off several deals in Las Vegas, one of the most sought after markets in the country, to a lot of these folks, like several of them, and freaking crickets. And you're like, I've had a property. It's in like, I'm going to run you through this with this one. I've got this one property. It's a two bed in Vegas. It's a great deal structure wise, great deal. And I've went through every big MTR personal brand there is in the industry. Every single one. Like all of them. Maybe not all of them, but like most of them. If they're on social media and they're in the ecosystems and the mentorships and the communities, like I've talked to all of them, I've worked with all of them. They've all had their crack at it. And some of them did okay. Some of them got shiny object and they started like fluttering away and doing something else. I'm like, cool, let's move to the next one. Let's move to the next one. Let's move to the next one. We then formally hired like a professional licensed property management company recently, and they did jack shit for like 6 months. Property just sat there. And because I'm so busy running my businesses, I couldn't like get out ahead of that and like fix the problem. I'm like, dude, if I just, lose $1,000, $2,000 a month on, mortgages and bills and random things, like it's not the end of the world because like I need to go make more active income somewhere else. And so eventually got to the point where I'm like, dude, we've lost like, we lost like 8-10 grand on that house over several months. And I was like, okay, now like I need to address this because it's a problem. And then I'm like, why is this house like not been booked out? I go to Zillow and I'm like, I find out that the photos they were using were not the professionally graded photos that I paid like over $500 for. Not those. No. They sent out someone from their team with a freaking smartphone, like probably not even an iPhone, like a shitty Android on a gray, overcast, probably rainy day in Vegas. That's special to have an overcast day in Vegas. Like you had to really figure that one out to make that happen. They went there, took photos on their phone, the absolute worst photos you'll ever see. Like this, it looked like someone died in the house. That's how depressing those photos were. And then for several months, they had those photos on the listing. They had listing description wrong. They had bed bath count wrong. They undercut the price value massively and wrong photos. And I address all this and I bring this up. I'm like, hey, you guys need to change the photos. We provided you professionally graded photos, this, that, and the other. Like make the swap, make it right, price it right accordingly because you're underpricing fully furnished, utilities included, pool, hot tub, the whole nine. Like this is not a market long-term rent rate. This is a midterm rental at a higher valuation. And then we got every excuse across the board about like, oh man, the market's just not responding to that type of property, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, cool, you guys are fired. I bring in a young couple who is hungry as shit to grow a PM company, right? And they love doing midterm, that's their thing. And it's funny because the people who had no brand on social media, no following, aren't talking about it on stages, aren't none of that. They're the ones who just absolutely freaking crushed it. And so here's the lesson for this, guys. That property now, a 2-bedroom, in the last 2 months alone, last 60 days alone, netted over after I paid out the property management company or like this couple. I shouldn't keep calling them a PM company because I don't think they're actually licensed, but whatever. It's netted me over $8,000 in the last 60 days. Here's the cool thing. We just got a rebooking for a new client over the next 60 days where I will net between 6 to 7 grand on a 2-bedroom house. And then I chat with his team. I'm like, what's going on? I sent it to the biggest brands on earth and like, they don't do shit. And then I find out, okay, then I'm like, okay, here I'm figuring out the patterns. I'm finding out what's going on, why it's not working. Then I'm like, okay, then I go and send it to a professional property management company and like nothing works there either. And I'm just like, okay, what's going on here? And then I send it to this young couple, by the way, like they're in like their young 20s and they crush it. Like they're getting like $1,200 like a month or every 60 days on this house, like just managing it for me. I'm like, dude, sweet. And I look at it and I figure out, cool, the business model for those big MTR people, they're going to have 3 or 4 houses where they make a lot of money on like actually doing the thing, actually advertising deals properly, just so they get the content. Just so they get the content to go on social media, to speak on stages, to do YouTube, to do all the things to drive their course and their education and their coaching program. And it's like, that is it. So if you actually go to them for, actual support in the space, crickets, freaking crickets. I'm sorry. I don't like, I've lost too much money trusting those and like taking the chance because, social media, I should have learned my lesson by now, honestly. And then I go to the PM company. And I'm like, oh, cool. Formalized PM companies. What do they care about? Do they care about like actually? And I went over the paperwork with this company who just sat there with crickets and had shitty photos, this, that, and the other. Their entire business model was really interesting. And you will find out someone's business model by reviewing the contract. And when I reviewed the contract, I really quickly understood they don't make their money by actively placing tenants and taking care of your property. They make money by doing the absolute most minimal work that their contract will basically bully you into paying them like a huge flat fee. That company, by the way, after I fired them, they wanted, I can't remember how much, but it was just shy of like $1,000. They wanted like several hundreds, if not like close to $1,000. They never put a single person in. They used the wrong photos. They used the wrong everything. They ignored me across the bar. Like I lost thousands, and they're like, no, because, you were working with us. We did this work and we deserve, $700-800, something like that. And I was like, you can screw the hell right off. Like truly. And then I realized, that's their business model. I'm like, cool. If you just do enough sales and marketing and you sign up enough clients and you take photos with a smartphone, you basically, or have a shitty photographer go out, you can basically claim that you're entitled to minimum $800 on a contract. I'm like, if they sign up 40 people, at 800, let's just round up to, if you have, 50 people that get signed up in a month at $800, like you guys do the math, that's a ton of money. It's a ton of money. And since those businesses don't actually have a lot of expenses, it's like, that's basically mostly all profit outside of like personnel payment. And I'm like, cool. And PM companies are sellable. I get it now. I freaking get it. And then when I go down the rabbit hole of like, why is this couple working? Guys, this couple, they're awesome. They're freaking hustlers. Like we had this guest coming in yesterday, and stuff's going wrong with the property. Doors broken, smart locks broken. Someone stole our smart lock off the side of the water meter. Like just terrible stuff. We've got the guest coming in, like an $8,000 guest coming in like 3-4 hours. And I'm texting them because I'm virtual. I live in California, they're in Vegas. I'm texting them. I'm like, guys, like, holy shit, what do we do? Do we need a handyman? Like, how can I help? Like, we can send out a contractor, this, that, the other. And they're like, no, don't worry. We've got a person. No, I asked them, I was like, do you have a person to like go get the locks swapped out, to go get the towels, to go get the blankets, this, that, and the other. And this was so cool. And this like renewed my faith in that micro industry. And they sent me a photo of themselves walking out of like Home Depot with the supplies. And they're like, it's us. We're the person. And I'm like, this is why you deserve 15% every single month. Like I am cool with it all day. And they went to the property. They went to Home Depot, got all the stuff they needed. Like the actual owners of this management company, this NTR booking management company. They're like, we're going to go do the work. We're going to get it done because the work needs to get done. And like our client needs to be taken care of. And because they understand that if they take care of that one deal, I'm just going to give them all of my other properties that I have. And so these are the things that people don't talk about. When you start buying portfolios, like, right, you know how like I mentioned with direct mail and PPL and call centers, when you're beginning, nobody tells you all the crap that I just told you. Nobody. I don't know if Bryant's still here or not, but Bryant's been in the game long enough where he's heard all the pitches, and Bryant knows he can probably agree that no one tells you all of this stuff up front. Not a single person. They'll just tell you to go use that company. They'll never tell you like, this is what you should probably look out for and understand the business model behind the scenes. And you can kind of reverse engineer this by looking at the contracts. No one tells you that. And then as a buy and holder, right, you may not be dealing with cold call companies or direct mail companies or PPL providers, right? The really interesting thing is, yeah, it's right there. Nope, just keep spending. The answer is just keep spending, right? And if you're a buy and holder and you want to build a portfolio, it's like you may not need a call center, but you'll need a property management company. You'll need a general contractor. You'll need all of these other service providers. And I want you guys to start being really, really, really discerning with what their business models actually are. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't trust anyone. I'm like, I know this is a relatively negative, kind of gloomy topic today, but it's one that needs to be had because people are losing so much money because they just are ignorant to this just being the case. I want everyone to understand and remember this. You should not, and sorry, I keep scratching my nose. My nose has been so itchy all day. So you should not give money to a provider if you don't thoroughly understand their business model. And a lot of people, like, they don't get that. They don't understand that. And I'm not saying it so you can cut them out or you could try to do what they do or anything like that. You don't need to know the proprietary stuff. Like, I'm not saying that. You don't need to know like the magic sauce behind the scenes if they've, got a secret recipe. I'm not talking about that. You need to fundamentally understand the business model as a whole for that micro niche. If you don't, you are going to start spending money and spending money and spending money. And because you don't know enough, when stuff goes wrong, you are just going to be left blasting emails to people trying to figure out what's happening, and you won't get proper answers and you'll never get clarity. And when you start reaching out for support to these companies, do you think they're going to give you the honest truth? No, they're going to give you the runaround that keeps you in the mix and keeps paying them. And I want everyone to reclaim that. I'm tired of seeing so many people who come to my DMs and they ask me, they're like, Sam, I'm spending, $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month, $7,000 a month. And like with all these companies, and I'm nowhere and I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's happening. And then I go through just a few questions with them and I'm like, they have no answers, no clarity, no insight, but they're still spending $4,000 or $5,000 a month of their life savings. And guys, this is in my opinion, this entire issue of ignorance around service providers is probably the number one reason, or at least one of the two biggest reasons that new investors go out of business their first year. It's not because they don't know enough. Like, that's an issue. It's not because they're not skilled enough. That's an issue, but it's not, like, in my opinion, it's not the actual like core reason. The core reason is usually too much overhead spent irresponsibly on services and products you don't fundamentally understand. And because you don't understand them, you can't set proper expectations and you can't troubleshoot and you can't make it right when it goes wrong. And so need to get that off my chest. That's been something that's been in my DMs a lot lately. And so I'm just like, guys, like I feel like we need to have this discussion every 6 months. And I'm glad that I did this just so I can send this to people when they DM me. I'm like, yeah, just go watch this. I talked about it for an hour. That is it. Oh my God, we are overtime. Guys, I appreciate you. If you are on Instagram, do me a huge favor. Go to a good friend of mine. His name is Hung Mai. Hung Mai is one of my absolute best friends on earth. He is getting married tomorrow. And so hit him up. A lot of you guys already know who he is. If you're in the ecosystems, he's like just the prince of STRs and the prince of short-term rentals and Airbnb. Go wish him the most beautiful blessings because it is about to be the greatest day of his life soon, getting married. And then that will then be trumped in a couple of months when he sees me again, because then that will be the greatest day of his life is when he hangs out with me again. But I hope you guys are crushing it. Please, please, please be more discerning. It's your money. It's your business. You need to have transparency. You need to have control. And if you're talking to companies that are like done for you or it's hands off and they do all the work, cool. Are they educating you enough? Are they giving you the transparency willingly? Are they encouraging it? Are they encouraging you being involved in the process, at least from an insight standpoint? Or are they fighting it? Is there friction? If there's friction, you have your answer. Go find better companies. They're out there. They're great call centers. They're great PPL companies. They're great direct mail companies. You just need to find them. Okay. That's it. Peace, guys. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll see y'all next Tuesday.